The first Thanksgiving, held in the autumn of 1621 at Plymouth Colony, was a celebration of survival and the successful harvest after a harsh first year in the New World. This feast brought the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people together in a three-day event marked by sharing food that was locally sourced and seasonally available. Contrary to modern Thanksgiving dinners that feature dishes like mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie, the original meal was quite different, focusing on what the land and sea could provide, along with native agriculture. Main protein sources. At the heart of the feast was an abundance of wildfowl, including ducks, geese, and swans. The Pilgrims sent 4 men out for fowling, a term meaning hunting birds, and they returned with enough birds to feed the company for nearly a week. While turkey is commonly associated with Thanksgiving today, there is debate among historians about whether wild turkey was actually present at this meal. More certain are the ducks and geese, which were readily available in the marshes surrounding Plymouth. The Wampanoag contributed significantly by bringing 5 freshly killed deer, venison. Venison was prized for its richness and was a staple meat source that added variety to the feast. Seafood played an important role too. The coastal location of Plymouth meant easy access to fresh fish such as bass and cod, as well as eel and shellfish like clams, mussels, and lobsters. These were likely cooked over open fires or steamed with seaweed, offering the colonists important protein and nutrients from the sea. Native crops and vegetables. The feast prominently featured the 3 sisters crops known to native peoples: corn, beans, and squash. Corn was harvested as Indian corn, or flint corn, and it was consumed not as the sweet corn we know today, but processed into cornmeal for breads and porridges. The Pilgrims likely ate cornbread or a kind of corn mush. Beans were a vital source of protein and fiber, commonly grown alongside corn and squash in interrelated planting methods that enriched the soil and maximized yields. Squash was plentiful and often cooked with a touch of sweetness thanks to maple syrup, a native innovation from the trees around Plymouth. This created a naturally sweetened, rich vegetable dish that served as a comforting and nutritious side. Other vegetables that may have been on the table include onions, carrots, cabbage, and wild onions, which could be found in the settlers' gardens or gathered in the wild. Fruits and nuts. Wild fruits provided a fresh contrast to the heavier meats and starches. Baskets of blueberries and currants, dried or fresh, would have been part of the meals. There was also the possibility of wild plums, grapes, and gooseberries, which might have been stewed into jams or eaten fresh. Nuts, such as walnuts and chestnuts, plentiful in the forests, were likely gathered and eaten plain or incorporated into other dishes. Seasonings and preparation herbs were used to flavor the food, including sage, juniper berries, and possibly wild onions and savory. These native plants added aroma and medicinal properties to the feast. For example, juniper berries were rubbed on seared ducks, infusing them with a piney, citrus-like flavor and believed healing benefits. The cooking methods reflected practicality and resourcefulness. Meats and fish were roasted over open flames or cooked in clay pots over coals. Shellfish was often steamed in seaweed, an indigenous cooking technique that preserved moisture and flavor. What was not served, interestingly, many foods considered traditional Thanksgiving fare today were absent from the original feast. There were no mashed potatoes, which were not introduced to North America until later. Pumpkin pie was also not present, as there was no wheat flour or sugar for pastry. Cranberry sauce, a modern staple, was not made, although wild cranberries grew in the region. Summary of 25 foods served: venison, deer, wild ducks, wild geese, swans, possibly wild turkey, bass, fish, cod, fish, eel, clams, mussels, lobster, corn, flint corn as bread or porridge, beans, squash, often sweetened with maple syrup, onions, carrots, cabbage, wild onions, sage, herb, juniper berries, herb for seasoning, walnuts, chestnuts, blueberries, fresh or dried, currants, fresh or dried, gooseberries, likely stewed. This combination of wild game, seafood, native crops, and seasonal fruits created a feast that was as much about survival, cultural exchange, and gratitude as about flavor and abundance. The food was prepared with knowledge shared between the Wampanoag and the Pilgrims, blending indigenous ingredients and cooking techniques with the European settlers' culinary traditions. The first Thanksgiving was not merely a meal, it was a profound moment of community, cooperation, and hope for a new life in an unfamiliar land. The 25 foods represent a diverse and rich tapestry of that harvest celebration, rooted in local ecosystems and intercultural friendship. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts. Your support means a lot. See you in the next video.